thing we have to do in that regard is to make sure the threat by the Speaker of the House to default on the national debt is off the table. For over 200 years, America has never, ever, ever failed to pay its debt. To put in the capital and colloquial terms, America is not a deadbeat nation.
And that was President Biden yesterday. He has now invited congressional leaders to the White House on May 9th to discuss the debt limit after Kevin McCarthy's best efforts to do so sooner. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen wrote a letter to House Speaker McCarthy yesterday saying, quote, after reviewing recent federal tax receipts, our best estimate is that we will be unable to continue to satisfy all of the U.S.'s obligations by early June and potentially as early as June 1st. The Congressional Budget Office also estimating a June deadline now. Mark Tepper, Lee Carter with me this morning. Mark, now we know the X date is June 1st.
Much earlier than expected. And how ironic that President Biden yesterday said America's not a deadbeat nation, the same day Hunter Biden's in court pretending he's not a deadbeat dad. Very, very ironic. But somebody's got to give President Biden a heads up. He's talking about Kevin McCarthy and his threat to default on the debt. Somebody needs to let President Biden know that the House Republicans, they passed a bill. They passed a bill to raise the debt ceiling in combination with $4.8 trillion in spending cuts. And this meeting that President Biden is now scheduling for May 9th, he could have done this months ago, but he instead chose to play this game of political chicken where he's refusing to negotiate on the debt ceiling. He wants this bill passed cleanly, as he's calling it, and that's setting us up for a potential default come early June.
Yeah. Well, that would be extraordinary, Lee. And of course, the president wants it to look like it's the Republicans who are irresponsible, even though Kevin McCarthy started these talks months ago.
Oh, bless their hearts. So 90 days ago, Kevin McCarthy asked them to start this conversation. I think Kevin McCarthy is one of the most underestimated people in Washington, D.C. right now. A lot of people, I think especially the Democrats, didn't think that he was going to be able to pull off what he did, which was get the Republicans on the same page about what they're presenting. They put something on the table. Democrats need to get to the table and negotiate on it. I mean, Joe Biden and others had said they weren't going to negotiate. 74% of Americans said enough is enough. We want you to negotiate. All of this is happening. And now finally, Joe Biden is coming to the table. And I think it makes Joe Biden and the Democrats look weak. He promised to run on unity. He promised to be the president for all Americans. Come on, negotiate. There's things on the table. You can make something get done. If you can't blame this on the Republicans, he absolutely cannot.
Yeah. The other thing is that he called all of these ideas wacko. Oh. He said these are wacko ideas that are extreme. Meanwhile, he voted for many of these quote unquote wacko ideas when he was a senator.
Yeah, and look, whether or not President Biden understands it, whether or not he likes it, austerity is coming. I mean, once net interest costs exceed 14% of tax revenues, the market forces austerity. We're at 11% right now. We will be above 14% by the end of the year. Over 20% of government debt has to be refinanced over the next few years at higher rates. So austerity has to happen. He's got to be more realistic in his negotiations.
Yeah, great points on all.